On today's show, the Dallas Mavericks get a group effort and beat the Charlotte Hornets. The Dallas Mavericks win in the clutch. We'll talk about that and more on today's Locked On Mavs.
I'm Luka Doncic, and this is Locked On Mavericks podcast.
Mavericks, NBA champions. Bang! It's good! And the Mavericks have won the game!
If you don't believe, you shouldn't be here.
Loyalty never fades away.
And welcome. You are locked on to the Dallas Mavericks. My name is Nick Angstadt, media member and NBA channel manager for the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Thanks for being part of the show and making Locked On Mavs your first listen every day. Where the best way you can help us grow the show is to listen every day and to comment anything below. Let us know in the comment section what stood out to you in the Mavs win over the Hornets. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. And you thought I forgot to let it ride. Oh, the Dallas Mavericks get a win, a good win. I had two young Raccoon Squad members come up to me at halftime. They were not feeling the defense, and I said, hey, are we going to let it ride tonight? And they said, absolutely. And yes, we did. We let it ride today. Joining me, as always, on a Monday from 105.3 The Fan, what you got for me, Reggie Adetula?
I ate an ungodly amount of discount Halloween candy. I did half a load of laundry, but I also researched vigorously propositions ahead of election day on Tuesday, and I'm doing this podcast right now, so I think that balances out the responsibility scale on the day for me.
There you go. You got the sports side. You got the responsible adult Dallas resident side. Man. And yeah, what a Dallas sports weekend. We had the Rangers. We had the Rangers parade over on Friday and all that. And then we had the Rangers parade was something, man. It was a parade. It does count as one. On today's show, we'll get into the Mavs win against the Hornets. The Mavericks were down by 15 at one point. Luka was limited in several ways, both scoring and with his thigh. So we'll talk about that and give a little update on that. Kyrie Irving was also limited scoring-wise, but the Mavericks, I'm going to start here, Reggie. They got a big group collective effort from everybody involved, including Grant Williams, who hit 4 threes and had hit 7 shots in total, had 18 points for him. Dereck Lively, 15 and 14. Another double-double, another stat line he had never put up in college. He never put up 14 rebounds or 15 points at any point in college. So, which is another wild thing for me to look at. Kyrie, 10 assists, but Josh Green coming off the bench, Tim Hardaway coming off the bench with 16 points, Jaden Hardy with 14 minutes and then 14 points, which is just a classic Hardy line. Just as many points as minutes. What did you think about the group effort, especially in that second half?
This was just one of those you got to get it done games, right? I actually started running back the game immediately once it was over, and I've watched pretty much the first half back, and I was like, what was really the thing that distinguished that made this kind of tough for them? And it really just felt like a make or miss type league type game. Yeah. And so ultimately they just needed to get it done. And as you mentioned, everybody kind of put in a little bit here, a little bit there to make sure that they could get it done and get Luka Doncic to one of those closing moment situations. And I think I told Kevin Gray of 105 through the Fan. I was like, look, man, ultimately, yeah, that's close. But
no, I got it. Hold on. I got to get it right. The get right.
There it is.
I was thinking about the Beatles because of that new song they put out, and they have that's the get that like. Anyway, continue.
Thank you. Appreciate it. No, man, it was just, I think I texted him and I was like, this is ultimately going to be a game that comes down to who can close. And we know the Mavericks have 2 closing options, and both of them I feel very comfortable with, and I feel over the moon with Luka. And that really what it felt like it came down to, is just a team willing to close it out a little bit better than the Charlotte Hornets.
In that first half, you had just some of the worst defense the Mavericks could play. Didn't seem like the effort was there. The Hornets were just killing on. I sent this on Subtext. You can subscribe to the Subtext, click the link, and get text straight to your phone. I sent everybody on the Subtext, like, the Hornets they shot like 16 of 21 from the mid-range. Like, that wasn't going to continue in the second half. And it didn't continue in the second half. If you go to Cleaning the Glass, they have great stats all the time, and that's how I get some of these mid-range stats. But yeah, they finished 18 of 40, so way different than the 16 of. So they only made 2 mid-range shots the whole second half. The Mavs just completely took that away from them, which was just a huge thing that they desperately needed to do. And the weird thing about just like the defense and what they try to do, they like so very clearly, and the box score totally dictates this, took LaMelo Ball, and in the first half, he was completely a passer. 2 points, 10 assists in the first half. Second half, 3 assists and 28 points. Like just completely flipped it. Like how much more can you show and show a defensive game plan than LaMelo Ball's box score? I mean, that's what they did. And I asked Grant Williams about it after the fact, and he just said, yeah, we really just needed to take away his easy plays, the one pass away kind of deal, and take away some of those playmaking opportunities, just make him a scorer. And he hit some tough threes, give him credit for it. But in the end, it just wasn't enough for him to just do it by himself, which is a story and a narrative we've seen so much with Luka and the Mavericks.
Yeah, man. And also, it seemed like he was willing to try and take those opportunities to shoot. The thing that steady was sat in with me was just the diet of the Charlotte Hornets, particularly in the second half. Their shots was just so disgusting. They were eating like me, eating just Reese's cups full to the face.
Discount candy. Just discount last year's
discount candy. Nothing
clearance track, baby.
That's right.
Nothing name brand.
And yeah, that was clearly in part because of a concerted effort by the Mavericks, and thank God, because also some of that was just not letting this Hornets team get right to the rack, which I appreciated, because look, man, that is an athletic, long Charlotte Hornets team, and it seemed like they were able to subside early on just by getting close shots and getting past and driving past guys. And yeah, if you limit that, that'd be great, right? Because this is not a good shooting Hornets team, and LaMelo Ball, if you allow him to just go it by himself, he will do that willingly. He has the bravado to do that, and he almost kind of shot them out of the game in a way.
Well, he was wild in this game. He was
wild is a great word for it.
I mean, it's the way he plays though. It's like it's fast and free. It's like freewheeling, but like the passes that he was throwing, some of them just made me go, wow. Just the stuff he was getting off, the 3-point shots he was getting off, just made me go, wow. He's obviously like an incredibly talented player, but other guys have to step up. And in the first half, it was Gordon Hayward, who was taking advantage of Luka getting the defensive assignment, which I did not really understand, because Gordon Hayward's not like Gordon Hayward when he plays, he's still going to be pretty good. He's not like, hurt Gordon Hayward where he's on one leg and all that. Instead, Luka was the one on one leg. So he was chasing him around all over the place, and he had a bunch of mid-range shots, but finished the game 9 of 23 in this one. And he, Melo didn't get much help from Brandon Miller either, who has been good, but wasn't necessarily good in this game. PJ Washington.
First start, right? For Brandon
Miller? first start since Terry Rozier was out in this game, so he didn't play there. But yeah, the Mavericks were much better in the second half, and especially just in that third quarter. Like they held them to 22 points in that third quarter. Hornets scored 31 in the first, 31 in the second, 34 in the fourth. All they need is one good defensive quarter, and honestly, that's going to be the case for the Mavericks. A lot of times, we just say, can the defense just be good enough? How about can the defense just be good enough for one quarter? Can just be good enough, just that one stretch, because then the offense woke up in the second half. They scored 41 in the fourth, and that was enough.
Yeah, man, and some of that is also, I think the second quarter was when Luka took an extended amount of time because he went to the locker room, and then you had Lively now on the court, so they were small, and it felt like, I was waiting for you to mention, we were talking about kind of the Hornets that were doing things. Mark Williams, it felt like that was one of the ones that was tough, was just him at the rack, putting in easy buckets. And that was something that seemed to go away entirely when you had either Luka or Dereck Lively or both on the court. And yeah, so that was the thing that I kept my eye on in this one, and obviously paid dividends because you had 30-foot jumpers being hoisted.
Well, that's what Grant means by the one pass away. If LaMelo's running a pick and roll with Mark Williams, the center, then when he gets to the rim, Mark Williams is one pass away. So instead, they send another guy to help over. So instead of just like one little pass, LaMelo has to throw either a cross-court wild pass to the opposite corner, or up top behind him where he can't see. Like, you have to take away the stuff that's right in front of him, and he'd have to make a wild, crazy Luka LaMelo type play in order for it to make it work. So the Mavericks took that away and just decided to make him a scorer, and it worked for them for a while. And it came down to it. Another clutch game for the Mavericks, which, hey, they can't quit these clutch games, but they got this one. They won. Coming up, let's talk about who else made an impact in it. How did the Mavericks pull this one out in the end? What was the key run in this one? We'll talk about all that coming up. Before we do, let me tell you about Game Time. Game Time has tickets You've got the Cowboys still in play. You've got the Mavericks still in play. The Stars, if you want to go check out some Star stuff, go check out all kinds of that kind of stuff. They've got it at Game Time, last-minute tickets, flash deals, zone deals, all that kind of stuff. Easy to find. Buy tickets for every kind of event in your area. And if you live in DFW, there's enough stuff in your area. I mean, there's all kinds of things that you can check out. Big 12 championship game coming December 2nd. They got tickets right here. It's one of the first things on the page. Cowboys Giants. That's what, next weekend? They got $19 tickets for this right now. When's the last time you could go to a Cowboys game for $19? Better go check that out. You better go check out some of the flash deals and all that kind of stuff that they have at Game Time. Again, check out the Game Time, download the Game Time app, create an account, use the code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem the code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest prices, guaranteed.
Shut it down! Let's go home!
Thanks, everybody, for hanging out with us on Locked On Mavs, being part of the show, part of the Raccoon Squad, listening every day. If you want to subscribe to the subtext, support the show, get text straight from me straight to your phone during the game. I'll do a film breakdown. I'll probably do the third quarter tonight because that was the big swing quarter there. And so I'll send that straight to a text message to your phone. I'll answer questions, do all that kind of stuff. Subscribe to our subtext. Click the link in the description. All right, Reggie. Speaking of the Raccoon Squad, I have two moments from tonight's game that I have to share with the audience. Okay. So, one, I'm leaving. I'm walking out of the arena, and I park at the Lexus garage, which is right across.
Right.
It's a little flex. And then I'm walking to my car, and all of a sudden I hear someone running, and I was looking around, and I hear someone running, and in a parking garage in a parking lot, immediately perks you out. You're like, all right. Am I gonna have to throw down right now? Somebody's
That's right.
That's right. After me right now.
Stay ready so you don't have to get ready. Absolutely.
And I turn around and I see a face that I recognize, and the guy goes from 30 yards away. He goes, "Do you have any condoms?" I was like, I said, man, that is a wild thing to yell at somebody from across a crowded parking garage.
Stands context, absolutely.
There's people going to their cars. And if you don't know, I'm at games. I sit in section 123. I'm always there. You guys can come and say hi. But I give out stickers, and they're the exact same size, like a condom package.
That's right.
And so that's what people, the Raccoon Squad, calls them. And that guy came across, and he's part of the Mavs drum line. So shout out to the drum line for staying safe and listening to the show. So I appreciate that.
Follow up. Was there anybody that you noticed within earshot? Because I mean, you definitely surveyed.
There were people, but I looked around and there was nobody close enough that I could see their facial expression. But there's definitely still people out there, and I was dying. I was cracking up. The other moment I have to share. Second quarter, I'm sitting there. All of a sudden, I feel this hand on my shoulder, pretty quick, boom. And I was like, what? Who comes up and just grabs you? And I turn around over my left shoulder. Who is there but Mavs man? And I was like, I was like, oh, cool. I was like, all right, Mavs man. And if you've listened to this show, you know that I did not enjoy Mavs man when he had the basketball skin. I thought it was the creepiest, scariest thing. He had to have a serial killer backstory. I was not for it. They've recently changed it. I appreciate appreciate the change. He's now more like a spaceman. I do want to know if the skin is still under the suit and under the jumpsuit. If the basketball skin is under the helmet,
that's more deranged if you think about it.
That's why I need to know, because if I think about it that way, I don't want to interact with Mavs man if he's going to have that basketball skin underneath everything.
Well, I mean, I feel like for your sake and your sanity, just imagine that he doesn't. Just don't think about it.
I have news. Mavs man is part of the Raccoon Squad. He told me he listens to the show every day. So thanks to Mavs man, and thanks to everybody for being part of it. And man, how about that? Even the mascots are in on it.
There you go. Look, widening and expanding the fan base one mascot at a time. I wonder what mascots around the league are most likely to Can we get Champ? Can we get Champ next? Can we get the horse to listen to the show? That's what I want to know next. But I had to share those moments, amazing moments from the game. And Mavs games have been really fun. All right, let's talk about who made a big impact in this game. I kind of want to talk about Jaden Hardy, because
He spoke after the game, and if you looked at the box score, like you woke up today, you didn't get to watch the game, you were doing something else or watching the Bengals win or whatever. Hardy had 14 minutes, only 3 of 7 from the field, 1 of 4 from 3. He scored 14 points, classic Hardy. Didn't have any assists, didn't have any turnovers, was like a +9. And you'd go, okay, like fine. He played some minutes off the bench, but he was part of the huge run that they made at the end of the third quarter, which really made this game winnable. And I think that he's been a catalyst for some of these runs they've been on.
Yeah, man, like that. He's the prototypical what's the right word? He's like a catalyst player. Absolutely. You use the right word. It's like just the jump start type player. I mean, he kind of profiles as a 6-man type dude where all we're really thinking about is the point scoring. And so come in, inject some life, score some points. And that's the energy that you needed, particularly against a team like this that is energetic and athletic. It kind of was nice to, fight fire with fire in a way, if that makes sense, to get that level of energy going, especially when you consider that this was a night where Luka, you could see him trying, but he was laboring under a little bit of pain. So to have another player that had that kind of juice was incredibly helpful.
And I just thought that he was very important. And he's very important in that the Mavericks were going to get all the threes they wanted, right? They were going to get every single three. The Hornets were willing to give that up. The Mavs shot 6 of 26 from 3 in the first half. And this is the case with the Mavericks. If they're not going to hit their threes, they're probably not going to be in a lot of games. But in this game, it was so pronounced and so much more obvious that if they weren't going to hit those threes, they weren't going to win. Second half, they ended up hitting some more, but 8 of 16 in the second half. So they took better threes. They got more open threes, and they didn't take as many. They took 10 less threes in the second half. It was just and they scored way more points in the second half. They just had much more efficient offense attacking. And I thought Hardy was a big part of that, where he's not, we lump him in with Tim and Curry and, the guards off the bench and say, what are they going to do with these guys? But Hardy is different in that he puts the ball on the deck and he can get there and he gets fouled in a way that Curry never really does. And Tim doesn't really. And, he can make some plays that those guys just can't, and has got so much more bounce than those guys. His dunk, his huge and one dunk attacking the closeout at the beginning of the fourth quarter was massive. And so I thought he was just he made a big impact in this game. And I love that Kidd has, he didn't use him early on, but he didn't just leave him out of the rotation. He's been using him in some of these late game situations and, the second half when Hardy wasn't there, and he's just been ready, man. That's what he said after the game. He always gets asked, what is it like when you don't know what minutes you're going to get or what your role is going to be? He's like, I just stay ready. He's like, whatever it is. And I think that I believe him. I totally believe him because he has been so far.
Yeah, man. I mean, look, that's the role of a dude who's going to be on the bench, is being ready to go. And you mentioned it. I mean, this is a dude that kind of is capable of putting the ball on the ground and trying to attack the rim. And that rim pressure is absolutely necessary. They did a really good job of kind of attacking the seams of the defense in that run. So you're absolutely right. And along those lines, it also felt like Josh Green did a little bit of that as well. Kind of the patented jump passes at times, but no, all of that was kind of helpful in the run. But can I really quick get a shout out to a dude that just continually feels, to me personally, I don't want to speak for anyone else, kind of underappreciated and kind of not looked at while he's steady, a backbone of this team, which is Grant Williams. Because that's another dude who knocked down shots today, was a defensive help when it came to obviously organizing all these things. Grant Williams just continually feels like he doesn't jump off of the screen, but he's always putting in, you know what I mean?
He jumps off the screen when he's getting an 1-3 at the end in the fourth quarter. There was just a huge momentum changing play. That kind of stuff does. And then when he falls, which is really funny to see Grant Williams fall, because he's just this huge dude that just just fall, and you feel like you can hear the thud, even if you don't hear it, you just see it. But I mean, his shooting has been absolutely insane. I tweeted his his shooting so far, and just you look at the games he's had, and he has let me see, he's had just insane shooting games where he had that 7 of 9 game. He's had tonight when he was 4 of 5. He's shooting over 50% from 3. He was asked about it after the game, and he said, that's not good enough for me. And he's like, I was shooting 60% at the beginning of last season. So he wants to hit every single one of them, which I guess that's the shooter's mentality. But man, he's just so ready for this moment, and he's ready to help defensively, and he just does great stuff all the time. He needs to be looked at more as somebody that has made such a huge impact on this team.
For sure, man. For sure.
We got to talk about Luka Doncic, though. So let's get into Luka Doncic. We'll talk about it coming up. Let's talk about Luka Doncic and his injury, what happened, why he was limited, why Kyrie Irving was limited. And I can't believe we haven't talked about Dereck Lively yet. So we'll get into Dereck Lively and we'll talk about his impact. There's so many more things we got to get into. Shows aren't long enough. We'll talk about that coming up. Before we do, let me tell you about FanDuel. FanDuel Sportsbook has all kinds of props and odds and lines you can check out. New customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 moneyline bet. If you've been thinking about joining FanDuel, there's no better time to get in on the action right now. If you want to check out some, let's see if do they have Cowboys next week already? Do we have Cowboys next week? I think they do. Cowboys Giants. Ooh, Cowboys 15.5 point favorite on that one. Holy cow, that's such a huge line for the Cowboys. So check out that. If you want to put that down, put down the money line, which the money line for that one is minus 1350. Maybe you want to pick a different one if you want to actually win some money on that one, because that is a huge money line. But put down $5 on it and you win it, and the Cowboys win that game, then you get $150 in bonus bets. So check it out, FanDuel.com/lockedon to kick off the NBA season and the NFL season as it rages on. FanDuel, the official partner of the NFL. Thanks everybody for hanging out with us on Locked On Mavs, being part of the show, part of the Raccoon Squad. All right, Reggie Adetula. Let's talk about. Oh my God. Okay, so Luka Doncic, he's limited in this game. It felt like he had the thigh seemed like it was bothering him in the third quarter. There was moments when he looked like he just couldn't get up and down the floor. What did you see from Luka, especially injury wise, and how do you connect to that injury, kind of personally?
Oh boy, yeah, no, that I related to that a lot. I was telling you a little bit earlier that when I used to like work in food service, and obviously you're on your feet a lot, and I developed a quadriceps strain, which I'm pretty sure is similar, if not the exact same thing that Luka's dealing with. And I was like, oh, okay, I remember what that's like, where it's if you're coming off of some rest, you stand up, you're dealing all right, and then once you get to a certain point, your knee, or what feels like your knee, is throbbing, and now you're just existing in that pain, and it's just managing that pain until you can get to a point where you can rest it again. And ultimately what got me out of that cycle was just time, right? And I was in that place where it's like, this dude is really, I understand we're all going to do the he's a warrior thing, like he's really gritting it out, and just also then made me think forward, because in this individual game, that Luka Doncic is going to do what he needs to do. What that does is it throws me forward, because you're how many games into the season? Like, you still have a good 70, 75 games left in the season. Yeah. And he's going to be dealing with it all through that. There's not really going to be an opportunity for him to rest, especially with the new, rules when it comes to superstar load management. And so it's one of those things where I started concerning myself with the pace that they're trying to establish and those things, and the ways in which he wants to be aggressive towards the rim. And we know he's going to do a great job controlling his body and all those things. And it seems like he's willing to grit and bear it. But the ways that he was gritting his teeth during this game really, really threw me back to some of those times where I was like putting a brace on and doubling up on ibuprofen just to get through a shift. And I mean, I was working at a restaurant. He is out here playing NBA basketball. So it really was an impressive showing from him, but also I'm starting to be concerned once more with the idea of how long is he going to be able to do this, and how well is he going to be able to do all the things that you're asking of him, because obviously he is still the hub of your offense. The usage rate is still crazy high, even though you have more support. And most importantly, you need him to put in on defense, right? You need him to give you the effort to stay in front of guys, and those things become just a little bit harder when you've got this nagging thing that is like an alarm on your leg telling you to calm down. Yeah,
usage percentage hasn't been as bad in the past, 34%, which is about what it was when Kyrie joined last season at the end of last season. So the 40% usage, that's where it was before. It was around 40%. So you're looking at, it's not as crazy, but it's still super high. I mean, it's Joel Embiid is at 36%. And then the guys above him, the guys above those two guys don't really play. They're just like outliers. So it's those two guys leading the league right now. It's kind of funny that there's not the stars that are like dominating usage as much as last season. It feels like the NBA is kind of overcorrected on that just a little, but obviously they need him, and he finished the game, right? It's one of those things, like you said, it's management. He's just going out there and he's plays through it, and he had some great plays in the second half. He had some great moments, and had another one of those plays where he was driving in the lane and stops and then puts the ball up. Like that play is so hard to pull off. And when he got that was the beginning of the fourth quarter and put him down by 1 at that point. He had a strip on defense in the fourth quarter. And then that, led to a Josh Green drive and a kick out to Tim Hardaway Jr. for the 3. And that's when the Mavericks took the lead in that fourth quarter. And so Luka had some great plays and great moments in this game and throughout the fourth quarter. But the injuries it is what it is. That's kind of what it feels like, right? There's really nothing else that we can say about it. Like you said, you just kind of got to deal with it and monitor it. And he went 1 of 9 from 3. And so I don't know if that's something that we need to look at and blame, because he was shooting so well from 3 early on. But that seems to be maybe an issue that he could be dealing with right now.
Yeah, it's possible. I think the shooting is probably more of just an off night type thing, because we've seen him do this with the thigh, and he's had great shooting nights. I think that was just kind of a bad shooting night thing, but I do wonder to what extent those things compound, over time. But Luka seems like, for one, we're going to do the thing where Luka's young, and then Luka seems like the dude where he's not going to complain about it, so I'm not going to complain about it.
Yeah, right. Dereck Lively, got to talk about him. He had a huge impact on this game, had a stat line that he never had in college, 15 points, 14 rebounds, just a great line from him. And the poise and just the professionalism, he doesn't look like a rookie out there. That's what's really standing out to me. I mean, you could talk about the passing, you could talk about some of the other things we've really gone into on this show, but I thought he looked timid in the first half. He was much more aggressive, I thought, especially on the boards in the second half. And he really just stood out, and he made such a big impact on this game. They needed him badly.
For sure. It almost felt like, and tell me if you saw this as well, or if I'm just out here talking out of my keister. It felt like he was looking at some of what he can be with a little bit more development in Mark Williams, right? Like Mark Williams seems like him just a little bit ahead in the development curve. And so I wonder if that kind of gave him a little bit of a slow start. But you mentioned the passing. That was the thing that jumped out to me, is the ways in which he was very much a hub in the high post, and sometimes just kind of helping move the ball around a little bit. And that was really cool to see as well. So, look, man, I'm with you. As long as we can limit some of the ticky-tack petty fouls from him, keeping him on the floor as much as possible seems very evidently as a positive for this team at any given point.
It's so clear to me that they told him, like, you have to stay on the floor. Like, don't foul out. Like, that's going to be your biggest thing is collecting these fouls, because you just see him defending under the rim sometimes. Him just being like, all right, I'm going to just not foul this moment. I'm going to stay vertical, and I'm going to be he's such a disciplined player and such a disciplined person. Like, I just got to stay disciplined in this moment and like complete. And so he doesn't go for stuff too much. He doesn't make mistakes. He doesn't try and go outside of what is like legal defense sometimes, where if you're a defender, you've got to go outside of legal defense sometimes to make stuff happen. I mean, just look at Draymond Green. Draymond Green does all kinds of wild stuff, and that's how he gets to makes defense happen sometimes. And with Lively, like, that'll just be something he'll grow into. But I'm so impressed with what we've seen so far, and so happy that he has been good right away. I thought it would take a little while. You mentioned Mark Williams. You go look at Mark Williams last year. I don't think he played like a minute until January last year. Like, he was with the Greensboro Swarm for a while. He was not really playing for the team. Let me look at his game log. Yeah, he didn't play 15 minutes in a game until the end of December 26th. Like and then he didn't start starting until the end or the beginning of February. Like it took him a while for them to really take him into the rotation and really figure out that he was the guy, and for him to maybe come along with the speed of the game. Think about it, Dereck Lively. He started game 2. He played 30 minutes in game 1. I mean, he's going to be way ahead of Mark Williams by the end of this season. But yeah, he did see a guy like, oh, I could be him. Like, you could be him by the end of this month, the way that he's progressing right now.
Yeah, man. That's fair. 100% fair. And I mean, it's something to be excited for. Like, the development curve on him is already so steep that you really hope that the sky is the limit, right? We've talked about it as, can he be new Tyson Chandler? What happens if it's more, right? And you know what? It's kind of what you need. It's kind of what you need. Not necessarily that it's more than Tyson Chandler, but that you need the quick development, because this is a team that has high hopes. This has high expectations. You want to be a championship contending team, and you need a high level center. And if you want that to happen, And the rookie needs to be ready by March, by April, right, to be that kind of guy. So, yeah, no, that development curve is great. And defensively, I think that you're right, man. It's he has all of these things in his head that he's thinking about, but I kind of view this as it's easier to kind of get more lax than it is to reel it in, right? To be if you're out here just wildly waving arms and fouling, that's a whole different level of thing to try and reel in. Then I'm going to be defensively composed, and then I will, every once in a while reach outside of myself to try and make the play, learning when to do that. Once it becomes a little bit more innate with a little bit more experience, hopefully then he'll take some of the gambles that will then be fruitful for this defense.
Fourth quarter, he played all but 8 seconds, had 4 points. He had 2 field goals that he made, 4 rebounds, 2 on the offensive end, 2 on the defensive end, had a block shot, only 1 foul, and he was +4 in all 12 minutes of the fourth quarter. Like I did not expect us to be in November and saying Dereck Lively is playing basically the entire fourth quarter to close out a game where the Mavericks were playing tight and had been down by 15 and came back and needed to have a good fourth quarter to win this game. The Mavericks scored 41 points in that quarter. He has not held their offense back very much at all, and I thought that he would early on. I thought his defense would be so helpful with the rebounding and all that, and his offense would hold it back, but that has not been the case at all, man. It has been so great to see like an actual center work with the Mavericks. There you go. Any other thoughts on the game?
Oh, sorry. I kind of anticipated the offense being something that looked good when on media day he said that he played, they were playing 5-on-5. He was on Luka's team, and then he had not been away from Luka after that. Like, he was on Luka's team every time after that. And I was like, oh, okay, I know exactly what time it is. Luka just decided, I love this. And you can see it when they're playing. Like, he's very clearly, and Kyrie also kind of loving to get him the ball as well. Mm-hmm. So, that gave me a lot of courage. And apparently that's exactly what we're seeing, is a dude offensively can do a little bit of something to make sure that he stays on the court and then gives you all the defense that he's capable of.
Just got to make sure he's ready by, like you said, like March, April. So now it's like, all right, he's here to play. We know that he can play against some of these teams. Didn't look so good against Denver, but that's what you try to prepare him for and get him ready for by the end of the season. That's what we're going to watch. That's what we're going to continue to monitor. There you go. Check out our show on Friday with Dana Larson. I did the episode Slightly Biased on the post game. Tomorrow, Slightly Biased will be back to talk about the Magic game. So we've got all these games coming up. Also, Jake Kemp coming on the show on Tuesday night going into Wednesday. So that'll be a good one. Some good stuff from him. And yeah, if you're Mavs, man, let me know if the basketball skin is under the suit. I need to know if you made it to the end of the show. I have to know. Thanks so much for listening to Locked On Mavs.
Peace out.
Boom.